isn't an option. It's a requirement. It's the baseline, the starting point, and the minimum standard. We're the most educated demographic in the United States. We lead in college enrollment, graduate degrees, and continuous education. We earn the degrees, we break barriers, we outperform the room, we innovate, create, and excel in every field we enter. And still, we're paid less than our white peers, including white women. The wage gap isn't just a statistic. It's a reflection of systemic inequities that persist despite our qualifications. We get passed over for leadership roles while less qualified candidates, often white men, get promoted instead. Our expertise is overlooked. Our voice is silenced. Our excellence is expected. This double standard shapes our entire professional journey. And when you're a Black woman, that protection rarely extends to you. The safety net that catches others seems to have holes precisely where we fall. We're navigating a system built on racism, gender bias, and the need to preserve white male privilege. It's a maze of unwritten rules, implicit biases, and structural barriers designed to maintain the status quo. Being average is a luxury we were never afforded. Instead, we have to be excellent in order to be considered equal, and exceptional to be given a chance.
And now I'm already getting ready to be thrown off by this woman taking on this particular video, because based off of how she's dressed, I'm not immediately associating her to being a African American, some person that you would call descendant of the slave trade here in America. She looks like she might be first or second generation from wherever she's from. And her now using this to make her point, it's just weird because, again, all right, you got the woman that's in the big house, and I mean everyone understands the context of this video before it even plays out. This is the mammy that's in the big house taking care of the woman that owns her effectively. Well, there were men on the field that were being owned as well, and they were working the fields, picking cotton, etc., etc. So we have to say, why is this black woman focus such a thing for this video topic? And this whole gender thing that she tries to just throw in is really damaging, because it's kind of putting a fork in the road where there doesn't need to be a fork in the road. Because black women, we're going this way because we're having these problems, and black men, you're going that way because you're having those problems. But let's let it rock.
So today we're reacting to this video that we just found. It's titled "Black Women Can't Afford Mediocrity." And we listened to like the first 5 minutes of it, and it's seeming like she's just saying black women only go through, I guess, not feeling like they qualify versus the next person of a different race. And I feel like that's not the case here. I feel like all black people in general get judged and scrutinized a little more than the other races. For what? I don't really understand that. But even just yesterday, we got some food from a Mexican restaurant. Pretty much everything that was on the menu that we wanted, it was absolutely not available. Not out of stock. I mean, how else can we say that? They did not have what we wanted. But let that be a black-owned business. Not just a black female-owned business, just a black-owned business. And you would be...
Today we're going to be talking about why black women are not allowed to be mediocre. Now, to start things off, we really have the strong black woman archetype to blame for this. And you know what I'm talking about.
We are beginning to say we have to begin to move on a united, collective level and destroy the root of our oppression.
The strong Black woman archetype is a cultural stereotype that portrays Black women as inherently resilient.
Well, why does she keep using people that you gotta edit this part? Yeah, why does she keep using people that aren't her people to make her point? I mean, even Cynthia Erivo. This is Cynthia Erivo playing someone that's a Black American ancestor. Not necessarily a ancestor wherever she's from, because she's
African.
African. Yeah, she's not African American. She would be well, how about this? In the diaspora, we're considered Americans. My wife and I, we're considered Americans by Black people. By other Black people, we would be considered Americans. She would be considered an African from wherever she's from. You know what I'm saying? That's the distinction you guys need to understand. And that's what I think this woman is that's making this whole black women point. And it's really weird. I don't understand why she's standing on the square. But yeah, let's let her rock a little bit further. I mean, I'm about to have to eviscerate this woman a little bit because she's not really making a good point. I mean, she's saying things, but it's, again, I don't like the deception here where, black women, what are you talking about? And to be honest with you, I don't think anybody can afford mediocrity. I don't think anybody can afford mediocrity. I just think that white people can get away with mediocrity, by and large. And honestly, even their day is coming. You know what I mean? So it's starting to become a point where no one can get away with mediocrity. So you might as well think like that now. So if you need coaching, white people, because, the time has come, you can't be mediocre anymore. You can talk to me and my wife, and, we're not mediocre, so we can help you out. But let's let this rock.
Self-sacrificing, emotionally stoic, and endlessly capable. She can take anything. She handles business. She is mother, and she never breaks. On the surface, it might seem like something that's empowering, but really, if you look beneath the surface, it's very dehumanizing and can bring a lot of issues. So where did this archetype come from in the first place? During slavery, Black women were seen as laborers first and humans second. The myth of strength was used to justify overworking and abusing them. In this time, Black women were forced to give birth to more enslaved.
In more incorrect information, you weren't considered a human at all. Okay? Black people were not considered humans. They were subhuman. That's why the slave masters could justify enslaving them in their twisted brains, because they were enslaving a subhuman, not a human, even though they were, also having sex, raping these subhumans too, in their minds. But, they're psychopaths, and so that's what they were doing. But, again, you weren't considered a human. Let's be clear about that. So you weren't a human second. You weren't a human at all. All right, so know your history.
And also, to your point with, as far as nobody can be mediocre, I'm glad that people are starting to realize that when you are mediocre and when you do mediocre things, you get no reward from it. And then what does that spew into? You looking to other ways to escape. And I think the white population is starting to realize that now, because they're all turning to drugs, getting hooked. And now it's all these different centers and clinics to help people on these drugs. Not necessarily saying online, dragging their name through the mud, talking about you're not ever coming back there and blah, blah, blah. But this Mexican restaurant, right up the street from your house, they never have anything, but I bet you'll be back time and time again, wait until they restock. Or if not, just still accepting that y'all could have done better, and instead you're going to keep spending money with them instead of finding, a different business. Doesn't necessarily have to be Black owned, but just finding a different business to spend your money. And that it's all white people. But it seems that the privilege that has been handed to them, they're starting to realize like this privilege is nothing. Because honestly, I think other people are waking up and realizing you literally are outnumbered at a, I don't want to say it like that, but black people and people of color are producing and populating way more than white people are. And it's a whole thing right now. I forgot what you told me it was called, when it's people without kids, like dinks or something.
Yeah, dual income, no kids. Yup, dinks.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a whole community of people that call themselves dinks. And it's basically them being proud that they're able to travel and invest in things that they want to. Whatever it is that they're doing with their money, they're bragging on the fact that they're able to do these things because they have two incomes and they don't have kids. And okay, you don't have children, you know, it's not for everybody. I get it. But at the same time, it's like, how do you expect to try to keep this facade of like, we're superior, we do this, we do that, if you're not even reproducing? Or is it reproducing or yeah, reproducing. So, yeah.
People. They were treated like livestock. Their ability to endure childbirth and return.
And then when you are reproducing, you're seeking out a different race to make those children with. Like, that doesn't speak volumes, then I don't know what else does.
To labor quickly was seen not as resilience, but as evidence that they weren't fully human. Enslavers believed black women didn't feel pain the same way white women did, so they were denied care, rest, and empathy. Unlike white women of the time, who were idealized as delicate and in need of protection, black women were seen as capable of doing men's work and women's work in the fields, in the home, raising white children, cooking, cleaning, and nursing. For example, Harriet Jacobs, in her autobiography, Incidents in the Life of a Slave Girl, recounts how enslaved women were expected to keep going no matter what physical or emotional trauma they were experiencing.
100 pounds of cotton, day in, day out, more than any man here.
One of the most well-known examples of this.
Another African playing a black icon, or rather, a black person enslaved, a black person in America enslaved. Though we can say, okay, that's fine, because you would say that those people would still have had more African features that hadn't been bred out yet because of how early that depiction was in the time period of slavery. You could say that, and so I will let that rock. You know, with the I will let that rock with the Cynthia Erivo thing if Harriet Tubman looked like that, but it was just bad casting all around. We had pictures of Harriet Tubman, and so Harriet Tubman did not look like Cynthia Erivo. Isn't that who played Harriet? I didn't even watch it, but didn't look like that. So didn't rock. Didn't work. You know, bad casting. Anyway, let's let this go.
And then also, I wanted to say, her saying that, you know, black women were, you know, thought to have to persevere pretty much through like all their conditions or anything like that. It's like, okay, that's anyone. I mean, you don't always feel up to doing whatever it is that you're supposed to do, that you have to do, but don't you do it? And you don't get a reward for it just because you did it, right? So.
Right.
Is Dr. J. Marion Sims, the so-called father of modern gynecology. Mind you, this man has like statues of him still up to this day and hospitals named after him. He experimented on enslaved black women without anesthesia under the false belief that they didn't feel pain like white women did. This created a medical legacy that still affects black women today, to this day. Mr. Sims, you literally preyed on our downfall. Like, you literally preyed on our downfall. Black women still have to deal with this problem today. As black women, when you step into a hospital, you kind of have to exaggerate your symptoms just so that you can be taken seriously because of all these implicit biases that a lot of the medical professionals hold. We also have the
I certainly believe that. I will say that because of this study and, now they just automatically assume that black people just don't have a pain tolerance. And I don't think it's that we don't, but I definitely think back in those years, those people were so used to it and terrified that they probably felt like if they were to make any emotions or do anything that was going to go against what they were trying to prove, then either them or their family members or friends, other slaves, in other words, something was going to happen to them. So these studies that they did, I don't think those are, accurate and true. I will say I do feel like I have a high pain tolerance, but I can also say that because I've dealt with things that have proven otherwise, that like I can deal with it without medicines and stuff like that.
mammy stereotype. This is a happy, loyal black woman who cares for the white family, and this emerged directly from slavery. The mammy is always smiling, she's never tired, she never complains, and she never needed help herself. This became one of the earliest templates for the strong black woman myth. Post-slavery, during Jim Crow and into the civil rights era, black women were often depicted as mammies or matriarchs, caretakers who were expected to sacrifice their own well-being for others, especially white families or black communities.
Oh, now, Miss Scarlett, you come on and be good and eat just a little, honey.
No, I'm going to have a good time today and do my eating at the barbecue.
And I just want to preface that there are some black women in the world who are fine taking on the strong black woman archetype. They are used to it and they understand that this is how they have to navigate the world. So why is this harmful in the first place? Well, the strong black woman archetype gives no room for vulnerability. It insinuates that black women are strong and they don't need help. It denies black women of the right to rest.
Again, this just sounds like a bunch of, oh, woe is me. Why do I have to put on this strong act? This strong black woman archetype. Again, everybody's expected to be strong. I don't see where this mentality is coming from. And, you trying to back it with a bunch of movies that, again, here's the funny part. Almost every movie that you're trying to back this up with, because your talking point, a lot of it isn't like back with, data, like math and nothing like that. Instead, you're just showing these videos that Jewish guys produced and own. Pretty interesting. I mean, they made all the casting decisions. They put the budget together. Probably wrote most of the scripts. So, again, there might be a spattering of some of these movies, because I haven't seen most of these movies. But it might be a spattering of some of these movies that might have a black director. But primarily black cast, white, to be clear, Jewish financiers. So, again, what are you trying to get at? It's a divide that just doesn't need to be there. Everybody's expected to be strong. When you go to work, everybody, no one cares what you have going on besides your work. Everyone's expected to be strong. No one's really expected to have the room for rest. There's people getting laid off right now that were on maternity leave. They just got off maternity leave and they got laid off. I'm talking about, white people, who can afford to be mediocre, right? No, they can't. I'm talking about hardworking white people that were very productive. Were getting laid off during maternity leave and stuff like that. But I'm actually in the professional world. I don't know. Based off your room, I don't think you're really in the professional world yet. I'm in the professional world. And so I see what's happening in the real world. Not based off of, my feelings, not based off of some movies. And in the real world, everyone is portraying this, as you would call, strong archetype. Everyone's portraying that. Because newsflash, everyone in the professional world has to be that, Your job does not care about your feelings.
to cry, and to need help. Vulnerability becomes a weakness, and that's deeply unfair. No one can survive without being vulnerable. It can also take a mental and emotional toll. Studies show that Black women are less likely to seek mental health care. And why? Because we've been conditioned to just deal with it. This can also lead to workplace burnout. And I am speaking for myself here. I have definitely burnt myself out trying to live up to others' expectations of Black women and overcompensating for the way I present myself or for just being a Black woman in general. And lastly, I mentioned this before, but this can also lead to healthcare disparities. Even in medicine, the myth persists. Black women's pain is taken less seriously, and the idea that we're stronger has literally led to our suffering.
Life expectancy, mortality rates, and health disparities are affecting Black women in America at an alarming rate.
I just want to raise up Malcolm X's quote in the 1960s, where he said the most disrespected person in America is the Black woman.
But here's the thing, this kind of leads us to a double-edged sword, because Black women are strong, we are resilient, but this shouldn't be forced upon us. We shouldn't not have a choice. We should be able to be tired. We should be able to cry while also telling ourselves that we're strong and capable. We shouldn't feel restricted and confined to just being strong and presenting ourselves as such. We see this archetype in media all the time. Olivia Pope, for example, in Scandal, she is the strong Black woman. She is also a functioning alcoholic, but that is a video for another time. But Olivia Pope,
She's saying, who say we can't do all these things? Like, who's saying anyone can't have emotions and feelings? That's basically what you're saying here. And if anything, women's emotions and feelings are stronger than a man. So literally, who's telling you that you can't have these feelings and still be thought of as a human being? It's just how you deal with it afterwards. Do you sulk in it? Do you stay in that? Or do you think about how you can come out of that at the end?
honestly, Shonda Rhimes, you really don't help with this at all. Olivia Pope and Elise Keating, they are two women who really have that strong Black woman archetype in their characters. We even have real life figures like Michelle Obama, and a perfect example is Serena Williams, who has spoken up about not being treated fairly while she was giving birth in the hospital.
And I was like, I can't breathe. Like, I couldn't take a deep breath. I told the nurse, I can't breathe. I need a mask.
The enormity of everything was scary. But fortunately, because she advocated for herself, they ended up taking her in for a CAT scan and they found the pulmonary embolism.
Now, how do we challenge the strong Black woman archetype? Representation is the first step. We have to ensure that we are showing Black women being soft, unsure, resting, and making mistakes. Heavy on the making mistakes. We are not perfect. We also have to increase mental health access by prioritizing healing, therapy, and community care. One of the most important things that we have to do is be careful with our language. Stop calling Black women strong when you really mean that you're suffering and I'm uncomfortable. Oh, you can't do this, but you're so strong. Like, you've done it before. You're superwoman. Like, you can do anything. Now, keeping this all in mind, it kind of feels like we don't really have a choice and that we are far, far, far away from being able to make those mistakes and being able to be imperfect. And there is a cost of being better.
I know that there is some Black girl out there, so many Black women out there that are watching me right now, and I want to tell you, you can do it. Anything is possible. Anything is possible.
Like I mentioned before, Black women are the most educated demographic in the United States. We lead protests, we raise families, we get the degrees, and we build legacies. And yet, despite being the most qualified in the room, we're still underpaid, we're underpromoted, and we're undervalued. And we know the reasons for this, right? Structural racism, gender biases, the protection for white male mediocrity. We watched Kamala Harris, who checked every single box and created new ones, lose to a man credibly accused of sexual assault. She was a former senator, a vice president, a prosecutor, and a diplomat, but her excellence wasn't armor. It simply was not enough. Because for Black women like Kamala Harris, excellence is just the bare minimum in order to be considered. Ultimately, she lost because she's a genocidal freak. But
yeah, you know, Kamala is black when it suits her to be black. And from what I can tell, she's really an Indian with, I guess, a father that was an Indian that lived in Jamaica. And she did a lot of stuff for APAC during her presidency. And not much, and she claimed from her to get that she was not going to do much for black people. So I don't know why you're trying to tout her as some big black woman hero. But I think she just said she was a genocidal freak. Let me rewind that.
She says something.
who checked every single box and created new ones lose to a man credibly accused of sexual assault. She was a former senator, a vice president, a prosecutor, and a diplomat, but her excellence wasn't armor. It simply was not enough. Because for black women like Kamala Harris, excellence is just the bare minimum in order to be considered. Ultimately, she lost because she's a genocidal freak. But, not keeping that in mind. We even have the online influencers.
Okay, at least you have some kind of bias. I mean, yeah, Kamala Harris did a lot of weird stuff. So at least you kind of understand certain things, but you don't understand the critical things, like Kamala Harris not being black, being someone that just went to HBCU and has a Indian father from Jamaica. Doesn't make you black. Clock that T, But I think I'm done with this girl.
Yeah. I don't have any more to say because she, like you said, she's picking up some things, but in the end she's like, no, but it's about the black female. Like, that's what it's about right now. Don't forget that. And it's like, okay, this man, or I'm sorry, not this man, President Donald Trump won because people have aligned with his views more so than hers. That's all it, boils down to, right? That's why the American people go out and vote. Okay. Like, subscribe, leave us a comment. I mean, do you agree? Is it black people, people of color, or do you feel like it's just specifically, the females out there? And tell us why. Don't just say, who it is without stating your case. Couple of reacts.
Signing out.